All right, so you're looking at buying a new BMX bike and you might be wondering if the Fly Proton is a good bike for you. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Fly Proton. We're going to dissect all the information and we're going to take a look and see, is this a good bike for you or should you get something else? So real quick, the Fly Proton is a high-level BMX bike. This bike weighs 27.1 pounds and the starting price is $509. Like I said, in this review, we're going to decide if this is a good bike for you or if you should get something else. Make sure you stay until the end because at the end, I give my honest thoughts. And sometimes this gets me in trouble, but I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to tell you whether or not you should spend your money on this bike. Before we get into all that, I need to tell you how you can get a bike recommendation from me. So instead of looking at 100 different bikes, I'll narrow it down to 3 bikes that are perfect for you. All you need to do is click the link up here on the screen. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm going to take that information that you tell me. I'll find 3 perfect bikes. I'll send it back to you in about 24 hours. And then from that, you can just pick your bike. I've helped over 10,000 people find a new BMX bike by doing this. It makes your life a lot simpler. So click that link, see if the Fly Proton is one of the bikes that I recommend for you. Okay, some frequently asked questions that people have about the Fly Proton. The first one is, how much does this bike weigh? And the Fly Proton weighs 27.1 pounds. This is a fairly heavy bike, but not super heavy. If you're under 30, you're okay. If you're around 27, it's like moderately heavy. If you're under 25, you've got a light bike. Can you upgrade the Fly Proton? Yes, this bike is fully upgradable, fully customizable. The parts that come on the Proton are pretty solid and and you can switch it out with ease. Can you grind with the Fly Proton? Yes, actually, this is one of the few complete bikes that comes grind ready right out of the box. The Fly Proton has 2 pegs and 2 hub guards, so you can throw those on and start grinding as soon as you buy the bike. Does it come with brakes? Yes, kind of. So the Fly Proton is going to come equipped with stock Fly brakes if you choose that option. So you remember earlier I said this bike is starting at $509. These prices change depending on the options that you pick, and Fly is very unique for doing this. So on the Proton, you can choose between a left-hand drive or a right-hand drive, a free coaster or a cassette, and a brakeless or a braked option. That's right. You can decide if your bike is going to come with brakes. If you get the version without brakes, you're going to save some money and it's going to have removable hardware. So it just has a really clean brakeless look. It will not come with any hardware. So if you do want to put brakes on later, you're going to have to purchase the hardware separately. So that's an option. It's a pretty unique option. You don't see this on any other completes. Fly is the only company that's doing that. And so, yeah, it comes with brakes if you choose that option. The Fly Proton, what kind of hub does it have? It's going to come with a cassette or a free coaster. Like I mentioned earlier, you can decide if you want to get the free coaster version or if you want to get the cassette version. We'll talk about the differences here. Each version is going to score a little bit differently in street, park, and dirt because of the utility. Okay. But before we get into that, let's talk about the sizing. The Fly Proton is a 21-inch top tube. This is an XL top tube, and the XL top tube, extra large top tube, is best for riders who are over 6 foot. I would say if you're between, 6 foot and 6'3", this is a good option for you. If you're much taller than 6'3", you're going to want to go with the 21-inch option. And if you're 5'10" or so, you can get, if you're much over 6'3", you're going to want to go with a 21.25-inch option. And if you're around 5'10" or so, you can still ride a 21, although I would recommend sticking with a 20.75. The frame has more geometries than just the top tube. Okay, you've got your head tube angle, your chainstay length, your bottom bracket height, and with the geometries of the Fly Proton frame, it is a slightly mellow feeling frame. It's not super mellow and it's not anywhere near the responsive side. What this means is how the bike is going to respond to your inputs and how it's going to handle different types of riding. Typically for dirt riding or flowy park riding, you want a more mellow feeling bike. You want a bike that's very stable. It's very controlled. It can handle good at high speeds. A responsive bike is good for technical street or technical park riding. This means that it has a steep head tube angle, a short chainstay, and it's very snappy and very responsive. The Fly Proton is slightly mellow, but it's pretty neutral overall. Now, We talked about geometry, we talked about sizing. Let's talk about the quality. This is the important stuff here, because if you get a bike that is not very good quality, you might end up like me, where I broke my first bike in the first 9 months of riding. It was a terrible experience, and you want to make sure you get a bike that's good quality for your size and your weight and the type of riding that you plan to do. The Fly Proton has full chromoly handlebars, it has a full chromoly frame, and it also has full chromoly forks. That is good. Along with the full chromoly frame, forks, and bars, it's going to have a full chromoly 8-spline crank system. This crank system doesn't have a pinch bolt. It's a very clean looking. The Fly treble cranks are super clean looking. And something interesting is the rims. Fly says that they have semi double wall rims. I'm not entirely sure what this means, except a few years ago on the Fly Proton specifically, they listed that the bike was double sidewalled or double walled, but then it came out that they weren't truly double walled. And anyway, it was a big rodeo with like, what does Fly mean by double wall? Like, is it actually, is it not? Like, what's going on here? And what we determined is that Fly uses extra thick sidewall rims in the Fly treble rims. They're not fully double wall. Fly calls them double sidewalled, as like, I don't know, like that kind of like is a little misleading in my opinion. And so is the semi double wall thing. Like, they're single wall with an extra thick sidewall. That's the gist of it. And this is good and bad. The extra thick sidewall is nice because it does resist bends, but having just a single wall rim that's, you know, not double wall makes it significantly weaker. And so it loses points here. It is better than a single wall rim, but it's not the same as a double wall rim. Anyway, I just kind of got to go in depth there. Everything else is chromoly, and chromoly is very good. I want to break down the differences between high tensile steel and chromoly, because a lot of you might be wondering, well, why does it matter? High tensile steel is much more affordable, but it's also less durable. High tensile steel is heavier because you need to use thicker tubing to get the same strength that you would with chromoly. It also bends on impact. It's 1020 steel instead of 4130, so that makes it like, what, 4 times weaker? It bends, it's not as strong. Chromoly, on the other hand, is more expensive, but it's 4 times stronger. It's also quite a bit lighter. And if you're going to crack it, it's going to crack at the welds instead of bending on the tubing. So we talked about the quality. How does it score? The Fly Proton is going to score a 6.67 out of 10, making it a high level, not a mid level, not a pro level, but a high level bike. This is a pretty solid bike because of that full chromoly, even though it doesn't have double wall rims. Let's talk about some pros and some cons of this bike. Some of the pros include the variable pricing. I think it's cool that, you know, if you're not concerned about being a rider with brakes and you're not concerned about having a free coaster hub, you can get this bike close to $500 or even under $500 if you get it on sale. And that's a good deal. A high quality bike, full chromoly with good parts, you know, for under or around $500. The variable pricing is a really cool thing. You can fine tune the bike that you get. You can choose the options that you want, and you can make that price come down or you can make it go up depending on the things that you decide on. Another pro is that it comes with pegs and it comes with hub guards. I think this is really important. I think that a lot of complete bikes are missing the mark by not including pegs and not including hub guards. I also like that it's well-rounded quality. It has the full chromoly in the important areas. It doesn't have much high tensile steel, if any. It's a pretty solid bike. Some of the cons include that the low price, the $509 price tag, is only if you get the basic features. If you want a free coaster and you want brakes, then it's going to be a little bit more expensive. The semi-double wall rims are also another con of this bike. I wish that they would just throw the double wall rims on there and up the price a little bit. You're getting a solid mid-level bike, but you're not getting the double wall rims, so you're going to have to replace those over time. Now, the type of riding that this bike is best for depends on the version that you choose. So for example, the cassette version is going to score a 5.63 in street. The park version is going to score a 3.93, and the dirt version is going to score a 4. Now, all of these scores are out of 10, and as you can see, the cassette version is actually going to be best for street riding. The free coaster version, however, is a little bit better for street riding with a 6.25 out of 10. It does worse in park with 3.21 out of 10. And then in dirt, it does a little bit worse with 3.6 out of 10. So this bike is still geared for street riding, whether you get a free coaster or whether you get a cassette. But the free coaster version is going to be slightly better for street and worse for park and dirt, while the cassette version is going to be still better for street, but more well-rounded, I guess is the best way to put it. Does the Fly Proton come with a warranty? Yes, actually, the Fly Proton does come with a warranty. Fly warranties all of their general products for 2 years against manufactured defects. What this means is that if you have an issue with the bike that's determined to be a manufactured defect, meaning that it didn't get run over by a car, it didn't get taken away by a tornado, it didn't get, you didn't try to grind something or you didn't hollow it out. Like if use and abuse is like terms of riding a bike and you're going to break shit and that's just how it's going to be. But if something happens in like in a weird way, you know, like frames cracking in certain areas is sometimes a manufactured defect caused by poor welds, bearings seizing up, like there's just different things that you will be able to get a warranty for on this bike. And this warranty is better than other bike companies do on their complete bikes. One brand in particular doesn't even mention anything about complete bikes, and you're just left to like frames are the only things they warranty. It's kind of crazy. So my honest thoughts here. I like the Fly Proton. Don't get me wrong. I think this is a great bike. I think the price is incredible. I'm a little bit disappointed about the single wall, semi-double wall rims. I think that, like I said earlier, just spend the extra money, Fly, put double wall rims on this thing. You're going to have one of the best value BMX bikes available. To compare, you've got the Kink Whip, which is $500, full chromoly frame, forks, handlebars, and double wall rims. It doesn't have some of the bells and whistles that the Fly Proton has, but when you look at it, like that's a baseline in terms of quality. The Fly Proton comes with most of those things aside from the single wall rims, and you can get it for around that $500 price tag if you do not want brakes. And I think this is fine. This is a fair price. It's a good value bike. Like it's one of the better value bikes this year, but I'm still going to be hung up on the single wall rim thing because here's the thing. This is a 21-inch top tube. So the riders who are going to be riding it are over 6 foot, typically over 6 foot. How many people do you know that are over 6 foot that weigh less than 200 pounds? It's really not a common thing. Like taller people are going to weigh more. 6 foot's pretty tall. They're going to be around that 200-pound mark. Single wall rims will not last for riders 200 pounds and up. And so it's just a little bit confusing. You know, you have this high quality bike with a taller top tube designed for riders who are taller. And typically taller riders are a little bit heavier than someone who's 4'10". And then you put single wall rims on it and you got this tall, heavy guy riding this high quality bike with single wall rims. Now, if you buy this bike and you're 6 foot, you're 200 pounds, like I would anticipate on bending the back wheel. When you start to learn spins, when you start to do jumps, you might case things, you might under rotate, and that weight transfer is going to have an impact on the back wheel. I've bent tons and tons of single wall back rims. Single wall front rims don't bend as much. It's very hard to bend a single wall front rim, but a double wall rim takes a beating. And so if you're a taller guy who's the correct size for this bike, I would anticipate that happening. So maybe you go with the brakeless cassette version and you take that money that you save and buy some double wall rims for it. That's just an option. So it's just something like things that maybe weren't completely thought out or don't completely make sense to me. And so that I would caution you, like I would be careful. That's it. Just understand your back wheel is probably going to bend if you're over 200 pounds or around 200 pounds, and just anticipate that and be ready for it. Now, it's not going to bend right away. You've got a few months of riding, but I just want to throw that out there. I want to be completely honest with you guys because I've experienced that. I've bent tons of single wall rims, even when I was like 180 pounds when I was a kid, before I was 200 pounds. Like It's going to happen. So just be prepared for it. Aside from that, solid bike. I think the value is incredible. What would make this bike better is multiple top tube size options. I think this would be a killer bike at a 20.5 or a 20.25 inch option. And the single wall rims wouldn't really matter as much. But that's my take. If you guys are curious about what to watch next, this bike did not make it on the top 11 BMX bikes for the year, but there are 11 really good bikes in that list. And you can also check out this video to watch similar quality bike reviews. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.